Welcome to The Scoop. I'm Diego Cordovez with Adam Schoenfeld here at Bellagio with Annie Duke.
Hi, Annie.
Hi. Annie's looking very beautiful today with
gee,
her
thanks. I got my boots
camouflage
on.
fashion.
I got the army thing going on.
You seem tough.
I am tough.
Yeah, we know that. Annie, you had your ladies' camp this weekend.
I did.
Now,
and I told all the women not to play the ladies' event.
I'm going to speak frankly. I don't think that, I hate the word ladies in general.
I do too.
If
I don't
they're
like
going to have it, they should call it
women's.
And, I mean, ladies, what are we, in the 40s?
Hey, lady!
And I want to play in the dames event.
Yeah.
those dames have great gams and
Yes.
so I'm against it, but I really am against having a ladies' event. Why don't we have a black person's event? Or
That's
Jews.
what I said.
I want to have a Jew event.
This is what I said to him. In the thing I said...
Or Latino.
Or a Mexican event.
Yeah.
During the camp, I told him, I said, I've heard people sort of mischaracterize my stance on the ladies' event as saying, like, I think I'm better than the women, that I won't play in it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's exactly the opposite. I think that it's offensive.
You are better than most of them. Go ahead.
Okay.
I said it.
No, I mean, but it's a game where women and men, there really aren't any differences because it's just you're using your mind. It doesn't matter that you guys are stronger than we are. And I said exactly what you said. I said, why don't we have a blacks only event or a Jews only event?
Right.
And they're like, well, that would be offensive. I'm like, yeah, because you know why? There's no difference between blacks and white.
What's the difference, right?
There is no
Has
difference.
Anyone explained?
So when I was doing the ladies' camp, I let them all know that I thought they should all protest and not play in the ladies' event. I'm sure much to the dismay of the camp runners. And a few people came up and said, because of what you said, I'm not going to play in it. So I feel like I had a small victory.
It's an anachronism. I mean, way back when women weren't participating in poker as much, I could see the reason. It's just to encourage participation. Right. But now there are women in every event, lots of them.
See, but I actually even disagree with that. I don't really have a problem with ladies' events in general. Like, if a woman wants to go play in a women's tournament, that's fine. My issue is that it's a championship event. Mm-hmm. Because it's not a championship if you're not playing against everybody. And what that says to me is that the men who run this event don't think that a woman could win a bracelet unless she was only competing against women.
In order to give a woman a bracelet, we have to put a little handicap.
And I said, obviously...
And a little swat on the ass.
Right, obviously I really want more women to play because I wouldn't have taken off 3 days from the World Series. They didn't pay me enough to make up for the equity I was losing over those 3 days to go teach that camp. But I really want more women to play.
You would have had a second and third place finish.
Obviously. I would have, it cost me a bracelet, clearly. But the point is that, obviously they paid me, but they didn't pay me enough to give up those 3 days of the World Series. And I did it solely because, I was really dismayed last year that of the 8,800 people who entered the main event, only 270 of them were women. That's pathetic.
Yeah. Well,
is that true?
That's a true statistic. Can you believe that?
I'm stunned.
Stunned.
Yeah. When I first started playing poker 15 years ago, it was intimidating for everybody, not just for women. You came in, I remember the first time I ever walked into a card room, I didn't understand the concept of blinds. Because home games players, I thought, well, you just ante or you don't even ante. And I sat down, I was the youngest person by about 40 years.
Yeah.
And on the second hand there, they're like, put your blinds out, sonny! And I was like, blinds? They're like, come on!
Yeah.
Very welcoming.
Yes.
And now those guys, I can see that, they fought in World War II, and the wives were home working in the, rivet factory or whatever. They had a different attitude about new people, young people, women, whatever. But these days, it's a very different demographic.
It's a really different, exactly.
The championship thing is also interesting in that the women's event's always gone on at the same time as other events, too.
I won my bracelet on the same day as the ladies' event because I chose to play in the event that I played in.
I was happy about that.
By the way, I was like, ooh, I should have scripted that one. That was awesome. I really felt like I proved my point. There's no reason that's where you give women bracelets. Women can get them elsewhere.
You won your bracelet that day, and another year, the final three had Jennifer Harmon and Mimi Tran, and Jennifer Harmon won a bracelet in a limit hold'em event on the same day as the women's event. So the irony obviously has been strong enough to make any changes. But
I'm on the Players Advisory Council for the World Series, and I made a big stink about it this year. A huge stink about it, and I was like, it's ridiculous. I think it's also the seniors event too. Doyle Brunson.
He obviously can't play with younger players. He doesn't have it anymore.
He doesn't. He's clearly lost it, and so he needs his own event.
Yeah. Well, that's another... obviously, it comes down to money, where there is a market for it. There are some women who really... They want to play in that event, not because
they're more
have
it, but don't give a bracelet for it. That's all I'm saying.
Not because they're more comfortable just being with other women, but just because they see it as an easy way to try to win a bracelet.
Right. So, and my point is fine, have the event. I literally don't have an issue with them actually running the event. I have an issue with the bracelet being attached. If I won that bracelet, I'd seriously throw it in the trash.
But you're calling for a certain integrity
Well,
when at the end of the day, this is a good business decision where there's a way to get more people to think, hey, this is a good way to win a bracelet, maybe an easier path to a bracelet. Right. I'll play. Here's my
You mean like when they announced last year, an hour before an event, that there was a bracelet event? That was an easy way to win a bracelet.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is the fields are bigger than ever, so it's really tougher than ever to win a bracelet just to work through my
really
field.
is, yeah.
But the flip side is the bracelets have been devalued because they're giving away
a lot of them,
123 of them this year or whatever it is. They're giving away like 3 a day.
Right.
So it's lost a lot of its luster.
I'm glad I won mine when it still mattered then.
Yeah, I mean, and you sound like a sore loser because these days I think there are many great players.
Not you. One does.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
One sounds like a sore loser. I was going to say I sound like a sore loser because when I won there were 3 no limit hold'em events.
Right.
Now there are 20.
Right.
But of course there are a lot more good players. There are a lot bigger fields, but still there's something special about winning one of the 3 no limits.
And also one thing that I think about is like there's some really fantastic players who don't have bracelets, and I wonder how they're going to get one.
Yeah.
You have someone like Eric Lindgren, for example, who's such an amazing player. Absolutely. He has no bracelet, and his position in terms of trying to get that bracelet is so hard. It's like for us, we already have them, and so when we go into these big fields, like when I came in third the other day, I was like, cool, I came in third. I mean, these are big events.
No question. And especially no limit. Eric's won a bunch of World Poker Tour events.
I know.
But in no limit, you're up against 1,000 people.
2,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 people.
Brutal.
It's tough.
Part of what this World Series has lost is we used to know everything that was happening, and you'd know everyone who won a bracelet, and now there's 6 events going on at once. And I like a lot of what they've done because there's so much more money, but the charm is gone. You can't
a little
follow
bit. It is hard to follow. I sort of try to check and see, but I couldn't name most of the people who've won bracelets this year. I know Gavin Smith came in second in a tournament.
One thing that's changed, that's part of that. I guess maybe a theme we've talked about with a bunch of people is the fact that obviously poker's changed in a lot of the obvious ways, but you've always been very social at the table. And I think one of the charms of poker was that you know a lot of the other players.
Yeah.
Especially at the World Series, you'd catch up with people that maybe you hadn't even seen over the course of the whole year.
Absolutely.
Now it's a whole different style at the table. Usually you don't know anyone. And
I think the etiquette. I think the etiquette has gotten really bad. That's something that's really upsetting to me. It's like, when we were playing, we were all talking to each other, and we all knew each other, and we were all friends with each other, and obviously with a few minor exceptions, all of us were like, it's a game, and this game is separate, and we have to treat people like human beings, because when we walk away from the table, we're still human beings and we're still friends. People ask me like how my brother and I dealt with playing with each other. It's like, well, this is the game, and then this is our life, and now all of this like, you suck, I beat you in a hand. It's like one freaking hand in the 4th level of a tournament, and they're sitting there taunting people and screaming and yelling and pumping their fists.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
Shoot it!
Where what I'm thinking is, dude, you hit a 3-outer. Like, shut up.
Are you just embarrassed? Like, we've all beat some people, but my reaction is embarrassment, not screaming and doing
actually, the other day in the first event that I played, which was the half and half, like, no limit tournament, I had a moment where I understood why Phil Hellmuth opens his mouth. I didn't say anything. But what happened was I'd raised late with King Queen, and this guy called me in the blind, and the board came King Jack Rag, and he checked, I bet he raised, I re-raised him, he called. The turn was a blank, and there was a flush draw on board, so I think he thought I had a flush draw. So when he let out, I raised him on the turn because I was going to call the river anyway.
Yep.
He called a 7 hit on the river, an off 7. He checked, and I checked back because I raised on the river to check. Yeah. I raised on the turn to check the river. Well, he turns over King 7 offsuit, right? Okay, you guys would just be like, and you'd pull in the pot, right? Because I didn't say anything. I just looked down at my hand and I mucked it, and I had my iPod on, and I didn't open my mouth.
Like, put you on a flush
he
draw.
Starts looking like, how could you not bet that? Like, he starts taunting, like, how could you not bet that? You didn't bet that hand on the river? What is wrong with you, man? As he's raking this pot in, and I'm like, and what was going through my head? Not out of my mouth. But what was going out through my head was, how about the fact that you managed to get in like 17,000 bets with kings with a 7 kicker against someone who clearly had you beat? You couldn't bet the hand on the river because it was likely you were drawing dead to your 3 outs that you actually hit. And shut up, if you want to bet your hand, bet it yourself.
Yeah. Did you tell him that?
None of that came out of my mouth. Right. I literally went on to the next hand, but I realized why Phil says things, because it was so out of line of him in a spot where he had won this hand to start screaming at me, calling me an idiot.
Well, the thing is, now, players like Phil and yourself, because you're so well known, people are taking shots in pots, which is okay. That's part
That's
of the game.
fine with me. Look, and if that guy wants to put in that many bets with that hand, that's fine with me, which is why I wasn't upset about it.
But they also are taking shots verbally, which is just not called for, especially when they've won the pot.
And especially when I didn't say anything. I literally just mucked my hand.
And the thing about Phil that he said, which I had to really think about, because I've been critical of Phil, berating people. But Phil says, he's not a bad winner; he's a bad loser.
That's true.
It really is not as bad to be.
And I've always said that about Phil, is that the thing that he has going for is he is absolutely not a bad winner. And clearly, this guy was being a really bad winner.
Big difference.
Being a bad winner is
bad loser. Yeah. Bad loser means lack self-control. Bad winner really is just
it's
wrong.
just and I was sitting there and I'm like, for a moment I was like, I know why Phil yells at these people and calls them idiots. Because it was so idiotic for him to say to me that I should have bet the hand for him.
Yeah.
I was like, what? But I see that more and more at the table where people are behaving like that, and I think it's a shame.
You think it's just that people just don't know what the etiquette is, or
they see it on TV?
This has brought in a new type
They see it on TV. Look, you want to know something?
Right.
ESPN has rewarded that behavior for 3 years. And so now people see it on TV, and they're just emulating what they see on TV. It's really that, and I wish that ESPN wouldn't reward it so much. I wish they wouldn't show those people screaming and yelling and berating people and pumping their fists in people's faces. This used to be such a much more friendly game than it is now.
But where these guys don't know that it's even bad behavior.
Of course, because ESPN shows it and they get rewarded for it. They think it's part of the game.
They literally get rewarded for it because if you get TV time,
that's what I'm saying.
Get paid. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you get endorsements, you get paid just to be a player.
Exactly. I'd rather get TV time because I'm always there.
I get TV time because of my spectacular good looks.
Well, you were very funny. All your clips were really funny on ESPN last year.
Luckily, I can get on TV without cashing.
Yeah, just because you're very funny.
Andy, you mentioned that you're on the Players Committee. Do they really listen to you, or
you know what they do? And I have to say that the problems you're seeing at the World Series this year actually aren't the World Series problems; they're Harrah's issues.
Right.
When you look at what's going on with the quality of the dealers and problems with the cage and the lines and things like that, that's casino operations. That is not the World Series committee itself. It's not Jeffrey Pollack's team.
No.
Jeffrey Pollack's team has done an amazing job. They absolutely listen to us. They are extremely responsive to our concerns. Very different than the other organization out there. And they really work to make sure that the players are having a good experience. Unfortunately, when it gets to casino operations, they don't have control. And it's really unfortunate because it reflects so badly on the World Series.
Well, the casino guys don't have the experience, and they don't really even understand the subtleties of it. I mean, I was online yesterday signing up for the 5 p.m. event, the horse event.
Right.
And, there was this big line. I was about 30th, and it's like 5 p.m., and actually, most of the people in front of me were signing up for other events or just getting their cards or getting money to go play live. So there was like a supervisor around, and I said, hey, a couple of us are signing up for this event starting in 1 minute. Can you open a separate window, let us cut ahead? They're like, why? I go, well, tournament's starting, and, we want to go play. And they're like, they didn't even understand. It wasn't even that they just said, forget it.
It's been really
They just didn't even
bad.
understand the logic of it.
Jeffrey Pollack's team was promised that the dealers were going to have this huge dealer training program. That obviously didn't happen. There was a huge problem, obviously, with the first event, or the second event, with getting people signed up for that. The lines were 4 hours long, and none of this is in Jeffrey Pollack's control. And I think it's a shame because if you look at the things that are under Jeffrey Pollack's control, under that team's control, Jeffrey Pollack, Gary Thompson, Ty Stewart, Craig Abrams, all those guys, they're doing a fantastic job of improving that event. When you look at the additions to the schedule, it is a poker player schedule. And that's because they listened to what we said. There were 2 big things in the schedule that we got. We got a lot more limit events back in, which we really missed because poker is not just no limit.
And non-hold'em events.
Exactly. Not a lot of non-hold'em events was huge. And then the other thing is we got rid of those $1,000 buy-in no limit events. There's some thousands, but they're all rebuys.
With rebuys, right.
Right, so everything else is $1,500 and above, because our point was, if you have a $1,000 second chance tournament night, why is someone getting a bracelet for an event that's the same buy-in as a satellite? It devalues the bracelet, like what you were saying.
And it's also just
and they were very resistant to that at first, and we had a couple months of discussion about it where we really convinced them, A, this devalues the bracelet, and B, it actually costs you money. So we got them to understand that, and the schedule is, if you look at it, is such an improvement over last year, and that's all because they're extremely responsive to our concerns.
Yeah, huge improvement.
And they're willing to run 300-player events, even though they know that the no limits themselves will get more players and more juice.
If they had a $1,000 no limit event every day,
they would make the most money.
Make more money than
but they understand that they have to make the players happy.
And also they're trying to protect the franchise, because at a certain point that starts to cost them.
Exactly.
Annie, tell us about the Ante Up for Africa event.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. So Don Cheadle and I started talking back in September.
Don Cheadle, who defeated Phil Ivey in the heads-up.
Because I coached him, for 2 hours before that. I coached him.
Oh, I didn't know that was
He's better than Phil Ivey. Let's just put it.
Yes, he's better than Phil Ivey. I coached him on how to beat him. Basically, the coaching started off as, well, Phil Ivey's way better than you.
Right.
So we're going to talk about how you can beat somebody who's way better than you are.
Why did they take the two black players and pit them against each other in the first round?
It was a
special
random
bracket.
draw.
Was it?
Yeah.
I've heard that they just created a special bracket.
Because they had a black bracket and a ladies bracket.
Ladies and Jews.
And Jews, and a Jew bracket, right. So we started talking, and obviously he's very passionate about what's happening in Sudan.
Yeah.
And I said, why don't we combine this and try to raise some money for this cause through poker? And we brought in a friend of ours, Norman Epstein, who's been amazing. And now Karen Williamson's doing PR for us, Robert Williamson's sister. And the event is going to be on July 5th. We went to the World Series in November. Jeffrey Pollack absolutely, and his whole team stepped up to the plate. They've been incredibly wonderful about this event. What they did was they replaced the media event. They always had that media day, and they had a media event. They replaced it with our event. So July 5th, 4 p.m. at the World Series, $5,000 buy-in. What we're requesting is that players who win money in that event, it's a real prize pool, will donate half their winnings back to the charities. International Rescue Committee is one of the charities that gets money on the ground to the refugees of Sudan. And we're talking about 2 million people, by the way, that are displaced. And then also Center for American Progress, which runs a campaign called the Enough Campaign, which is specifically to raise awareness. We're very excited because we have some amazing celebrities coming. We've got George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Ray Romano, Brad Garrett, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Hank Azaria, Charles Barkley.
These are actual A-list celebrities.
I know there's more. I know there's more, but I can't remember. Anyway, but that caliber of celebrity is coming. And then, of course, we have, Chris Ferguson, Doyle Brunson, all three Phils, Phil Ivey, Phil Gordon, Phil Hellmuth. We've got Cloney Gallant, Phil Locke too.
Okay,
four Phils. I'll fill four Phils. We got Antonio, Joe Hashem, Barry Greenstein, Ted Forrest, Mike Matiso, Cloney Gowan, and they've all allowed us to use their names.
Right.
And they'll be playing in order to promote this event and promote this cause. And it's an amazing way for poker players to give back. Seating is very limited. It's limited to 300 players, and the celebrities and pros take up almost 100 spots as it is. So you can sign up at the cage. Now you can sign. See, again, we had trouble with casino operations because we had people going up to sign up at the cage, and the people at the cage were like, "What Africa event? We don't know what you're talking about." Right. So now they've got signs all over the cage so that when people go up and ask for the Ante Up for Africa, they'll know what it is. So
I hadn't heard about it, and I saw it there, and I thought.
And you can find out information for it. You can go to anteupforafrica.org. You can find out about what's going on in Sudan, specifically Darfur, obviously. You can go find out about what the humanitarian crisis is there. You can find out about the International Rescue Committee there, the Enough campaign there. You can see which celebrities and which pros are committed to come to the event and find out all your information. You can find out how to sign up there as well.
Awesome. Well, Annie, I know you're playing tonight. You got to get.
I am at 5 o'clock.
And but it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks.
Well, thank you.
Annie.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming down. Join us tomorrow on the Scoop.